Brazil has confirmed that a 5-kilometer path of wreckage found in the Atlantic Ocean belongs to Air France Flight 447. The Airbus 330 vanished on Monday on way from Brazil to France, 3 hours into its flight. There were 228 people, including 12 crew members on board. David Rothman has the story.
The Brazilian defense minister confirmed the news, saying the strip of wreckage included metallic and non-metallic pieces.
Our military plane found this strip of about 5 kilometers of debris, which confirms that the airplane crashed in that area, hundreds of kilometers from the Brazilian archipelago of Fernando de Noronha.
Jobim said recovery of the plane's cockpit voice and data recorders could be difficult because of the depth of the ocean where the debris was found. Earlier, Brazil's Air Force said its military aircraft spotted wreckage at 2 distant points, located about 60 kilometers apart from each other. Among the signs of wreckage, an airplane seat, an orange floating device, and traces of oil and kerosene. The Brazilian military says there is still no way to determine if the plane blew up, and there is also no news of survivors. No bodies have been spotted in the crash area, in which all 228 passengers and crew are believed to have died. French police are studying passenger lists and maintenance records and preparing to take DNA from passengers' relatives to help identify any bodies. If there are no survivors, as feared, the crash would be the world's worst aviation disaster since 2001. David Rathbun, CCTV.
Investigators on both sides of the Atlantic Ocean are trying to determine what brought Air France Flight 447 down. Potential causes include violently shifting winds and from a towering thunderhead, lightning, or some combination of other factors. The crew made no distress call before the crash, but the plane's system sent an automatic message just before it disappeared, reporting lost cabin pressure and electrical failure. The jet was cruising normally at 840 kilometers per hour at an altitude of around 10,000 meters just before it disappeared. But just north of the equator, a line of towering thunderstorms loomed. Bands of extremely turbulent weather stretched across the Atlantic toward Africa. A French official said even a fierce tropical storm would probably not have brought the plane down. But without the black boxes, the causes of the disaster remain unclear. France's parliament has held a moment of silence to remember those who died when an Air France plane crashed into the sea off Brazil. National Assembly President Bernard Accoyer addressed the parliament on Tuesday before everyone bowed their heads. He said that all thoughts were with the passengers' families and friends from the 32 countries, including France, that had citizens on board. The French soccer team will also wear black armbands and hold a moment of silence ahead of their match against Nigeria on Tuesday night. 9 Chinese nationals were confirmed to be aboard the Air France jetliner that disappeared on Sunday over the Atlantic Ocean. China has offered its full support to the families of all passengers on that plane. Meanwhile, the French embassy has promised to help the relatives of the Chinese passengers. Wang Mangmang reports.
Although search and rescue efforts are still underway in the Atlantic Ocean, the chances of finding survivors are slim. Among the 228 passengers feared dead, 9 are Chinese nationals.
This is bad news, although it still needs to be confirmed. Our hearts are together with the family of those Chinese nationals on board, as well as the family of all passengers.
China Foreign Ministry launched an emergency response immediately after the plane went missing. It ordered Chinese embassies in France and Brazil and the Chinese consulate in Rio de Janeiro to quickly confirm the situation with relevant departments and the names of the passengers.
Initial confirmation shows 9 Chinese nationals were aboard the plane. The Chinese Foreign Ministry, as well as its embassies and consulates, will continue to keep in contact with relevant parties and closely monitor the search and rescue process. We'll also make arrangements to deal with the aftermath.
And France is also making arrangements.
Well, I understand that Air France is in touch with the families of the victims, and in this regard, French embassy will naturally make its most to help the families if they need to go to France. But before all, I would really much like to express our most sincere condolences to the families of the victims and to the relatives of the victims, and express our most profound sympathy in this terrible event.
The Chinese Foreign Ministry has set up an emergency hotline in Beijing for information for relatives and friends. While many hope the ongoing search and rescue efforts will eventually give some clue about the plane's sudden disappearance, the missing passengers from 32 countries are what people worry about most. Wang Mengmeng, CCTV, Beijing.
Still to come on Worldwide Watch.